the book. And so I thought, well, A Journey to Heaven. And she said, well, she says, that would be good to put underneath the title. But she says, a good title for it would be Happy Birthday. And I said, why Happy Birthday? And she says, because it would be her first birthday in heaven.
Aww.
And I said, wow, okay.
I think that's really
so
sweet.
that's how I came up with that name.
And so, okay, I can see some of the things you're trying to accomplish with this book. It's actually for healing and everything else. Can you tell me, did you have to do much research as far as the case goes in order to, feel like you had background on this? I mean, obviously people are going to be interviewing you and just finding out like the
Right.
depth of your knowledge when it comes to this case. I mean, did you do that, or was it just wrote the book and...
Well, actually, at the time that I wrote this book, I was working as a caregiver, and so I was actually kind of glued to the case, and my client was also, watching the case on TV, and it was just something about the whole story. I was be watching Nancy Grace, and she was covering it, and the local news as well, and it just something about it just really fascinated me, and it really touched me personally.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know how to explain it. I mean, even though I wasn't able to have children, for some reason I thought of her as, she could have been my grandchild kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it really touched me personally. And then by me, when everybody found out about the verdict and everybody was shocked about it, me as well. I mean, it hit me so hard I started crying. And so I just kind of blurted out, to God. I said, "Is there something I can do that will help turn this tragedy into something positive? Use me."
Right.
And I've always liked to write. I was always really good in school with, creative writing and stuff. And I've, seen my brother's writing, and then I was always intrigued by his writing and my dad's and all that. And so, and I've always kept a journal. My brother always gave me a journal, and he says, write down your thoughts and stuff. And so I've done that for years. And I actually written a lot of different books, different styles, different things, and I just haven't gotten them published. But when this story came out, I wanted to get this published because I wanted to get it out there to help as many people as I could.
And sometimes when things are like you're in the moment of the inspiration of whatever it is you're doing is the right time. Like if you wait or whatever, the energy could be different, with supporting it and everything. So how was the general response to your book as far as like people embracing it? Did people, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And a funny thing that happened out here, too, which I was shocked. I wanted to advertise my book on a billboard, and it was benefiting the counseling center, and the people that has the billboard company out here, when they found out about the book and then they looked at it and everything, they went ahead and they said, "Oh, we'll just charge you $100 for the billboard," and when it normally would have been thousands.
Yes, it is thousands. Oh, that's so sweet. That's beautiful that they're doing that.
And the funny thing was, they were so behind on making the billboard that they actually gave me a digital billboard for no charge.
Oh my goodness! See, that is just amazing. I think that's great. So,
and it was so funny because people saw it around town, and I had it in the best spot near the Daytona Speedway, and I was actually able to sell the books during the races.
Oh, that's so great. And so, everybody, if you're listening, we're actually speaking with Sharon Roberts, the author of Happy Birthday, Kaylee, and we're talking about the case that, that terrible, tragic case where Casey Anthony got away with basically murder, right?
Right.
And that's the thing of her child. So, and I think if you guys Google this book, or, I mean, I think it would be really handy for even like, like you're saying, like schools, doctors' offices, just different places where you're touching into a subject that seriously, sometimes there's specialty books or self-helps for adults. Why not like a self-help book basically for children?
Right.
I
Right.
think it's a very it sounds like it would be very healing for a lot of children.
It
Um,
actually, it really has. I even got a contact from the mayor of Sandy. I'm trying to think the name of Sandy Hill, where they had the
oh
tragedy
yeah,
up
yeah. It
there.
was actually what is that? That's Sandy Hill,
Sandy Hook.
I
Sandy
think,
Hook.
yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, Sandy Hook. So he even contacted me by email and wanted to know where they can get the books and stuff.
Wow.
So I actually sent him a box of it so they can use it
Oh.
to, heal that community of the tragedy. So they were really happy that I was, that I had a book out there that would explain kind of a bad situation turning into a positive situation. So,
So now, when you wrote the book, you basically wrote it in one night, right?
about, yeah, half an hour.
See,
Yeah.
I mean that's really cool, and you didn't even change anything really on it. And so, how
No.
long from that point that you wrote it, basically
Hmm.
in the middle of the night with notes that you were like basically didn't even remember until you got up and read it, and you're like, "Well, this is just as is great." How long from that point to the point of somebody being able to buy it did it take?
Um, well, actually, the next day after I read it, I actually looked online to look for children's publishers, and there was actually four of them that I saw. Three of them turned me down, and one of them accepted me.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so,
And they said that the reason why they turned me down because it was such a controversial case
mhm,
that it might actually they thought it would be a negative for the community or for people to buy, kind of thing.
mhm.
Um, so, but I didn't let it get to me. So I said, I know it's got to be another publisher out there. So I found this other publisher, and they're affiliated with Dorrance Publishing, and they're the ones that published Charlotte's Web,
Oh, okay.
and so they're like one of the oldest publishing houses, and they're out of Pittsburgh. And so I contacted them and told them exactly. I even knew it was weird because I even knew what size I wanted. I knew I didn't want a hardback book. I wanted a book to where it was flexible so the kids can flip through it, kind of
Mhm.
thing. And then I found a artist. It was actually this one lady that was in town, and she did really, really good work. The only problem was she was drawing pictures that looked exactly like Kaylee looked from pictures off online and in the papers and stuff, and she looked sad. And
Oh,
so I
okay.
wanted a picture of a happy Kaylee,
Yeah.
and so I didn't really want it to look too much like her, just in case somebody says, "Oh, that's her." We want we. I thought I might get sued because of that,
Yeah.
and so I found another artist, and we were corresponding back and forth online. He's from out of town here, and I said the only thing I want to stand out on the picture of her is her eyes. I said she's
Oh.
got the most beautiful big brown eyes. So I said that's what I want to stand out in the book. And so he did exactly the way I wanted it, and I knew when I saw the completed project
Mhm.
done, I knew right there this is exactly the way it was supposed to be. And then
That's
I
so
knew
cool.
that I had a feeling it was going to touch people emotionally, but I didn't know how much it was going to touch people because I've actually showed my book to several different people, and they all have the same reaction, especially women. They start crying.
Yeah,
every
when you
time
were
you see
reading
it.
it to me, I was like, it's just, I mean, just the way it goes is just like as an adult or just like on online when it says it's a book for, any age, it really is because
Right.
I mean, the reality, the simplified reality is she was just a baby and now she's in a safe place. I mean, it, it's just really tragic. And like going over like the case itself, I mean, I know what you're saying when everybody was just so hurt and so upset and it was everywhere. It was on the news everywhere, constantly being followed. I mean, there are so many kids that were exposed to this whole situation. I'm sure people, neighbors, little friends she had, everything. That something like this is like a comforting yet heartbreaking still. Like, I guess it's heart, it pulls at your heartstrings more or less.
Mhm.
The reality of what happened, but yet it does, you know, exploit a different side of it, just like a happy side where, she's safe now. She's not in the
Mhm. And
hands of
I've
the
had
abuser.
yeah, and I've had people too when it came out, and my illustrator even put a Facebook page for me on on this book,
Mhm.
and I actually have on my Happy Birthday Kaylee Facebook page um, a lot of different organizations um, are putting their information onto the Facebook page of missing children and stuff like that, and that's exactly what I wanted. I
Yeah.
wanted it to be a positive page to help other kids in different situations. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's great. And then I was just wondering too, as far as the case goes, I know some people aren't really aware of this case or they don't recall it or remember it. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the case? I mean, do you know a little bit about it? I mean, I have some of the information printed out, I like a little timeline of things, but did you want to tell everybody a little bit about what happened?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Casey Anthony was a young mother. Um, she was 25 when she went to court. She was in her early 20s, around 19 or 20 or so, when she found out she was pregnant. She did not want to have the baby. She was living with her parents, and basically the grandparents did everything for the grandchild, Kaylee Marie.
Mhm.
And so Casey was a very, very immature young mom who wanted to not have the responsibility of being a mother. And so she partied a lot in Orlando with her friends and whatnot. And in this case, what happened was her daughter uh, went missing
Mhm.
for, I think it was 31 days, I think it was. So she kept making up excuses about where her daughter was. I have a nanny. She's staying at the nanny's house and this and that. She supposedly worked for Universal Orlando,
Mhm.
and she was fired, and she kept making up excuses and lies and saying that she was going to work, and she wasn't. She was staying at a different friend's house and partying all night and this and that. And so everybody kept asking, where's Kaylee and this and that. They haven't seen her in a few days, and she kept making excuses. Oh, she's at the nanny's house with the nanny's kids and whatnot. And then finally her mom was concerned and kept asking her, you better bring, Kaylee home. I want to see her. And she kept making excuses. Then one day, her car was found abandoned behind a business, and her folks went to pick up the car. And when they picked up her car, they said it smelled like there was a dead body in the car because it smelled bad.
Mhm.
And but they didn't find anything. And so then it started. Everybody was searching to look for her, and they couldn't find Kaylee anywhere. And then it just so happens that there was a meter reader that was in the area, and he was taking a break, and he found something in the bushes down the street from her parents' house, and he found a skull. And then he contacted authorities, and then that's when they did the search, and then that's when they found her. And that was 6 months later.
So sad. And
yeah.
Why did they not convict her?
Well, they were saying they were trying to convict her for, child abuse and a bunch of other things, but they couldn't find any proof that it was child abuse, because every picture they showed, witnesses or friends said that she was a good mom. You see videos of her, and she always, it was more like her daughter was more like a buddy than her daughter. She didn't act like a mother would. She kind of played with her like a little friend or a little doll kind of thing. And basically, they're saying that she used chloroform to put her out, and so the district attorney, well, he's our district attorney now. He was just a lawyer during the case, but Jeff Aston thinks that she actually suffocated her daughter with this chloroform and gave her too much, that it actually killed her. And so in order to keep her, it actually made her pass out. It made her pass out. And she didn't want to have a life of being a mother. She felt tied down. And so she basically put duct tape over her nose and mouth and suffocated her. And she didn't know where to put her. And there was actually evidence in the backyard that she was trying to dig a grave for her, because she borrowed a shovel from a neighbor, and she didn't want to do that. And so she was trying to find a way to dispose of the body. She actually was driving around with the body in the trunk of the car. That's why they said it smelled like decomposed. And they actually showed evidence in the court that there was hair fibers, and residue of decomposition in the trunk. But what happened was the jury, if they would have let the jury see the evidence, smell the evidence, touch the evidence, without a doubt, she probably would have been put away for good. But because they didn't do that, she basically got away with it. So
I can't believe that. So she just walks. Does she live in Florida or what?
Believe it or not, she was living, I think, with one of the attorneys that was defending her. I think it might have been Cheney, whatever his name was. I think she might have been living in his condo in New Smyrna. There was some report that she was in Miami. And last thing that people heard, she was living in California somewhere.
Wow, that's unbelievable. It's just like one of the saddest things I've ever heard. I mean, obviously, I'm sure her parents, if they feel she did this, I don't know how they could want her in their life, but I'm not sure. Does anybody follow that? Like, is she still close with her family? How were they against or supporting her, or what?
Matter of fact, the grandfather, he went ahead and had the car destroyed. They were selling some of Kaylee's belongings and stuff like that. They were having a garage sale. I think they were trying to put the house up for sale.
Wow, so sad.
Yeah, it's just too many memories for them,
Absolutely. We're going to actually go to the top of the hour break. When we come back, I'd like you to tell everybody how you can they can get a hold of the book and everything else. So everybody stay tuned for The Dirt. We'll be back with Sharon Roberts.
Inside the Beer Cave in Yuba City 76. It may be nearing 100 degrees where you are, but in the Beer Cave at Yuba City 76, it's a chilly 29 degrees. That's where you'll find the coldest beer in town. And they're keeping the prices really low, too. Only $12.99 for Bud, Bud Light, Coors Light, and Tecate 12-packs. And only $19.99 for 30 packs of the same. So stop by on your way home and get the coldest beer in town. Yuba City 76, next to U-Haul on Calusa Avenue in Yuba City.
Fox News Radio. I'm Ron Flatter. Just off a U.S. military ship 2 weeks after his arrest in Libya, the lone suspect to be captured in the deadly attack on Americans in Benghazi nearly 2 years ago was in federal court this afternoon.
Ahmed Abu Khatallah appeared before a judge at the U.S. District Court in Washington, D.C. for about 15 minutes, where he pled not guilty to providing material support to a terrorist group that resulted in death. The alleged Benghazi attacker was taken to a federal facility in Alexandria, Virginia. Khatallah was flown by helicopter from the USS New York at dawn and was driven to the courthouse just before 9 a.m. Eastern. Inside the courtroom, Khatallah looked disoriented. He wore a black tracksuit, was not shackled. His hair and beard were gray and matted. He spoke softly in Arabic. His next court appearance is July 2nd.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at District Court in Washington. She doesn't believe there's much chance immigration reform will be passed this year. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi saying so on a visit to the U.S. Border Patrol in Brownsville, Texas, where undocumented children are staying, some of the 50,000 who have fled to the U.S. from Central America.
We don't want our good nature abused by those who would misrepresent what's happening in the United States in the subject of immigration to affect how we deal with a refugee problem.
Pelosi believes the cases of the children should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. The Iraq government claims it has recaptured Tikrit, one of the northern cities it lost during the Sunni rebellion this month.
It would not only be a strategic but a very symbolic victory for them. It's the birthplace of Sunni leader Saddam Hussein, and it fell to those Sunni insurgents in the early days of the violence.
Sky News reporter Michelle Clifford in Baghdad. North Korea has test-fired 2 short-range missiles, according to South Korea. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
They all should be embarrassed. It's a real mess. What in the world was our government thinking? The news is breaking. Keeping a close eye on what's going on. Explosive story. There was a lockdown, and a horror broke loose. We are live.
Are these displaced people?
A desperate situation. What are we going to tell the American people? What's going to happen there? It sounds like war is inevitable.
Israelis want peace desperately.
Greta Van Susteren, on the ground, chasing the real story and getting the truth. Nothing gets by Greta.
On the record, weeknights at 7 on the Fox News Channel.
Weeknights on Fox Business. They don't follow party lines. They don't accept the status quo. They don't do boring television. They are the independents, breaking through the clutter with a different point of view on the day's news. From politics to pop culture, social issues to international affairs, they're calling it like it is.
Cut the nonsense.
Kennedy, Matt Welch, and Camille Foster are the independents. Weeknights at 9, only on Fox Business.
Severe weather is not as predominant as we've seen in recent days, but there are flash flood warnings now in northwest Mississippi, southeast Kansas, and southwest Pennsylvania. The kidnapping of hundreds of schoolgirls by the Boko Haram terror group was followed yesterday by an attack on a shopping mall, punctuating a crime wave in Nigeria that has the attention of the United Nations.
This international terrorism has become a source of deepest concerns for all of us. This terrorism should be addressed comprehensively.
UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. It began with 2 gunshots 100 years ago today, what became known as World War I.
Commemorations started first in Sarajevo, Bosnia, where Archduke Franz Ferdinand was shot dead by a Yugoslav nationalist. Spelling out the significance of that day, the grandson of the last Austrian emperor Karl von Habsburg.
You cannot see the First World War separate, because the first one was leading into the second. And what came out of it was a united Europe.
In London, Queen Elizabeth II led a solemn drumhead ceremony to commemorate the volunteers who served in what became known as the Great War. By the time the war ended in 1918, more than 2 million US soldiers had served on the battlefields of Western Europe. 50,000 of those Americans lost their lives. Dominic DiNatale, Fox News Radio.
Top-ranked Serena Williams will not be around for the second week of the Wimbledon tennis tournament. She was defeated in 3 sets of her third-round match by Elise Cornet of France.
Sometimes it happens, you know, you work hard and maybe it's not for today, maybe it's for tomorrow, but yeah, so I just gotta keep going.
Maria Sharapova and Rafael Nadal were among today's winners. And in World Cup soccer, after playing to a 1-1 overtime tie, host Brazil needed a penalty kick shootout to eliminate Chile. Colombia shut out Uruguay 2-0 and will play Brazil in the quarterfinals. I'm Ron Flatter, Fox News Radio.
29 degrees. That's right, you heard me. 29 degrees inside the Beer Cave in Yuba City 76. It may be nearing 100 degrees where you are, but in the Beer Cave in Yuba City 76, it's a chilly 29 degrees. That's where you'll find the coldest beer in town. And they're keeping the prices really low, too. Only $12.99 for Bud, Bud Light, Coors Light, and Tecate 12-packs. And only $19.99 for 30 packs of the same. So stop by on your way home and get the coldest beer in town. Yuba City 76, next to U-Haul on Calusa Avenue in Yuba City.
My family and I were driving our one-day-old son home from the hospital when we got a flat tire. With no spare in our car and nothing but rice fields in sight, we called Les Schwab. When Joe saw us on the side of the road with 2 babies, he insisted he drive me and the kids home.
Let's get you home safe.
While my husband waited for the tow truck. In no time, Joe's crew had our tire repaired and wouldn't even accept a tip for a ride home, saying it was
baby's first gift.
And as they would, and that's my Les Schwab story.
Les Schwab, doing the right thing since 1952.
Making wise purchases is a very important lesson we've all learned from the new economy. Consumers are looking for great value at a reasonable price. You still have to go to work, to school, and to your kids' activities. If you call each trip in your car risky business, then we invite you to come in and see the great value in pre-owned vehicles on our lot. This is Murray Lewis, co-owner of Dow Lewis Motors. We have 2 important advantages. You don't pay auto mall fees when you purchase a certified pre-owned car from Dow Lewis Motors, and most certified pre-owned cars come with a lifetime powertrain warranty. That gives you great savings and peace of mind. Do you need fuel economy, safety, and outstanding performance? Affordable price? Dow Lewis Motors is your used car superstore. We have starter cars for your teenager, work trucks, family cars, and cars that are great for transporting clients to meetings. America's journey started with George Washington. Your certified pre-owned car buying journey should start at George Washington Boulevard on Highway 20. That's where you'll find Dow Lewis Motors.
You are tuned to the dirt.
The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found.
That's affirmative. He has evidence proving Bigfoot.
The search for the flying saucer.
You are about to explore another world, another universe with the likes of Ghost, Bigfoot, and UFO.
I woke up in the middle of the night. I don't know what it was.
He is overshadowed by the energy from the World Teacher, and the World Teacher uses him and gives a blessing.
And all of a sudden, I realized that the banging is coming from my kitchen. Instantly, I froze. I was so scared.
They said they heard like, a disembodied scream, like a bloody scream, like something bad was happening.
And now, here comes your diva of the dark, Lori Schultz.
Hey everybody, you're listening to The Dirt. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had a really interesting, fun, and educating first half of the show, and it was with Sharon Roberts, the author of Happy Birthday, Kaylee. Sharon, you still with us? Sharon?
Yeah,
Hi. Okay, well, thank you for staying tuned in with us. I just wanted everybody to figure out, how they could get a hold of this book, and, maybe if people out there have somebody that they know has suffered a loss, like a child who's maybe could relate to your book, that would be great if you could give the information out to everybody.
Oh, sure. No problem. Actually, there's different ways you can actually get the book. You can go to Barnes & Noble, their website, or you can go directly to the store, and they can order it for you. You can also go to, I think over there near Sacramento, you have Tower Books.
Oh yeah, I think we do. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that was a big bookstore out there. They can actually get it through Tower Books as well, or directly through the publisher. And the publisher's website is www.rosedogBooks.com.
Okay, it's weird. I thought it was rosedogbookstore.com. I looked it up.
Oh, okay. Either way, actually, you can go directly to the bookstore or just rosedogbook.com and then go into the children's section there online, and it's actually listed under religion.
Okay. Well, Sharon, I just wanted to thank you so much for being on the show, and I was just wondering
if
there's...
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
absolutely.
Thank you. And I wish you the best with this book and everything that you're trying to accomplish with writing it. I think it's beautiful, so well written, it's so sweet, and it's very, very, very touching. And I really appreciate the fact that you read it to the listeners. Those of you who didn't get a chance to listen to it, if you listen to the podcast later, you can listen to it. And if you'd like to order it, like she said, you can go to rosedogbookstore.com, on Amazon, and a few other places. But if you Google that book or Sharon's name, Sharon Diane Roberts, you'll actually be able to find just endless amounts of information on that book.
And also 100% of the proceeds goes to charity, to children's charity.
And that is also very generous and beautiful. So I just want to thank you very much. And is there anything that you'd like to say to anyone, a message out there, or to our listeners?
If anybody has a dream that they are pursuing, just go with your heart and your dream of what you want to do. And if you want to help, different peoples in different situations, by all means, go with your heart and what your dream is, and everything will flow into place for you.
Oh, thank you so much, Sharon, and that's really beautiful. And of course, I will keep in touch with you, and I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to have you on, because, I mean, it's just awesome when somebody does something for the greater good of others. So, again,
thank you. And also, I just wanted to say, too, I was actually inspired with writing through my father, Paul Roberts, and my brother, Paul Roberts, as well. So.
Aww. Well, I am glad that you shared that. And so I'm going to go ahead and wish you a wonderful weekend. And
thank you. You as well.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for being on The Dirt. Sharon Diane
I
Roberts.
Absolutely enjoyed it. Thank you very much, Lori.
Thank you, too. And I'll be in contact with you for sure.
Okay.
All right.
You.
Thanks. Bye-bye. All right. Well, thank you very much, Sharon Diane Roberts, for being on the show. And like I said, it was an awesome book. It's a children's book. It's called Happy Birthday, Kaylee. It's about the Casey Anthony trial that took place, where she actually basically got away with murdering her little daughter, and she went missing for 30 days, and she was constantly, just playing it off, oh, she's here, oh, she's there, and it was just a heartbreaking case, and then she never did get convicted. So, and now apparently she might be living in California. That's kind of scary, don't you think? I think it's like so tragic. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like there was so much evidence, her car, everything. She's out partying and doing all this stuff. I mean, to me, it was just ridiculously sad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Florida, so the day of that verdict, my Facebook wall just went insane.
Are you serious? I didn't realize that you knew that you were so in touch with this case.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, because all my friends are in Florida. All my old friends. And then my Facebook exploded with hate.
Really?
For this woman on the day of the verdict, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I mean...
It was basically what everyone in Florida was saying is, if I see you in public, I'm going to do what didn't happen to you from the courts.
Eye for an eye type of thing going on.
That's basically what everyone in Florida was saying to this woman. So
How
that's why she
did
left.
she get away with this?
Who knows? Who knows?
I can't believe, well, that she was like living with the lawyer or living in his condo, whatever it is.
I guess that that'll get him to work hard, for you.
Oh.
I
That's like,
guess.
it's just like so. Is that Zach
Yeah, it
yelling in
was.
the background?
He didn't enjoy my comment.
Zach, you know what? You can just come right in here and be on the show in here. You don't have to yell from the coffee room. So to me, I mean, I'm really happy that Sharon was on here. I'm really happy that she wrote this book because, okay, for instance, look at how your community there was affected. Imagine children, everybody else being in contact with that. This is a very healing way, and it's cool that it was like through straight inspirational. She wasn't somebody who was the lawyer tapping in. It's all the proceeds are going to help children and stuff like that. So I think it's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
It's pretty honorable, and it's like a really nice thing to do for Kaylee.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean, did I just write? Yeah, Kaylee. Their names are all, and the grandmother's name is something similar too. It's all C names. I'm like, what the heck? But yeah, just following this case I printed out this trial fast facts. It goes through like when she was missing, when the car went missing, and then the grandparents, hey, I want to see the child, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, this chick was ridiculous. She was 19 years old when she has a baby, and she's just like, oh, hey, I'm driving around with that. And can you imagine, I mean, giving your child chloroform to make them go to sleep? Yeah, good night. That is so mean.
That's an extreme way to get your child to calm down.
I mean, I would do it to
suppose.
myself, maybe. Like, hey,
All right.
I want to go to sleep right now.
Yep.
I'm on the airplane. I'm wherever I'm at. But I mean, that is just. Oh, if I see that woman, I mean, I won't be happy. I mean, she's in California. I hope she stays far away from the dirt.
Yep. If she ever, she better. She better hope she doesn't walk into my bar. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. No, it's so sad. It's so sad. It's pathetic. Ugh, it makes me so mad. I can't even imagine how that community felt.
Mm-hmm. It was rage. I'm telling you, it was rage.
I don't even understand.
My friends live in Orlando. They live in Tampa. They live all over the state, and there is rage.
Okay, who are these jurors? That alone, too. I hope I don't see any of those people either. Because I'm telling you.
They actually got threats, too.
Because, I'm talking like crazy pills to let that woman loose.
Well, they did. The thing,
I'd be like this. First of all, we're going to take your uterus out. Make sure you cannot bear any more children.
Well, it was one of those things where it was all plastered over the media, right?
Yeah.
And so she was, in the court of public opinion, she was indicted weeks before the verdict.
I'm sorry, I can't take you serious with that thing sticking out. You look like a Martian.
I got a thing sticking out here?
Like, what's that thing on that side?
What thing?
On your headphone.
Oh. This is a zip tie. I guess the headphones are broken and they're zip tied together.
Okay, I'm sorry. It was so distracting. You look like a Martian. You did. Okay, so anyway.
But no, okay, so she was completely roasted by the public weeks before the verdict. Stop laughing at me. But the jury didn't hear all the same stuff that was in the media. There's the information that got to them was very selective and cut off, and they didn't hear the same story that the public did in the news with all the TV lawyers and stuff like that.
I bet.
Right, so they didn't get the full picture, and apparently, they basically were, they didn't prove their case to the jury. They proved it to the public, but not to the jury.
Okay, and see, that's interesting because that's almost like one of those things where when you think you have it in the bag and you don't quite do the job that you should do, like there's probably cases with far less evidence that end up, with a proper conviction.
Sure.
And then something like this where it's like, hey, we've got this in the bag, and it's like, oh, nope, sorry. Just because everybody thought it would be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I buy 100 lottery tickets, I think I'm going to win at least $1.
Right.
And I don't.
But you might not.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that is just nuts. I can't believe you were living down there when that happened.
No. I was out here in California.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
I saw the aftermath on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because even leading up to it, it was for a couple weeks leading up to it. It was I hope this beef fries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then afterwards, it was I'm gonna go do it myself if I see her. And
how many states actually have the death penalty still?
I don't know.
Huh.
I don't know. I think there's like 18 or so.
That many?
Yeah, I think there's that many.
But what's weird about the death penalty is, like, it doesn't seem like that many people get put to death, considering they get the conviction of that, or the whatever.
Yeah, I don't know how that. Remember, there was that controversy that just happened with the guy in Texas that they tried to kill, and they gave him a bat. They're trying some new lethal injection on him, and it didn't really work.
I didn't hear about that.
No, it took him hours to die, and he was in agony the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah, so after that, I think there's been some rethinking about some of the things.
Wow, I mean, we could always go back to the silver bullet. It's cheaper. Oh well, I mean, look at we've got cattle slaughter places. They know how to kill a cow.
They can, yeah, but apparently pretty quickly too.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Efficiently.
saying. It's like we have to go through so
And
much.
God bless those men.
Yeah. Well, you like meat.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
To me, anybody but the veal farmers, they just make me so.
Yeah,
mad.
that's that. I'm not into that. I don't even like veal's not even that good. I'd rather get some. What is this?
What does that mean?
32 states had the death penalty.
Oh, he just shows me a number. I'm all what? My waist or hip size? What is that?
It was like 2 minutes ago, Lori. You forgot already.
I'm telling you, I have the attention span of a Cocker Spaniel. No,
Oh, my
no,
goodness.
seriously. 32 states have the death penalty?
Yeah.
Were you looking
California
on an
has
old
it.
site?
We have it here in California, kinda. It's just
Kinda.
really hard to act like they'll put you on death row, but it's really hard for you to actually get killed. But they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's still here in Cali.
It's actually easier to get killed if you go to one of the national forests. I'm always bringing up the missing 411. And if David Pilatus is listening to me, I'm trying to get him on my show, and he said after I finish these books, I'm done with 2 of them. But, I mean, I want him on. I wrote him a message, so I'm hoping to get good news. He said he'd be on it once I read them.
Well, get on it. You're about halfway through that one, looks like.
Oh, no, I have 2 done. I had to read 2.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, these books are so insanely addictive. I was reading them earlier today. I can't stop reading them. It's so scary. There's something going on.
Well, what is it?
Man, I mean, that's why I want to have him on, because he doesn't really straight up tell you exactly what his opinion is.
Uh-huh.
He just brings forward all the facts, like these are all a collection of missing 411, the Western United States and Canada. Okay, so like basically he'll go through and he talks about Yosemite, or he'll talk about all the different national parks, and they don't have to comply, like the National Park Service, with like regular, like they don't have to disclose like regular things. Let's say like in a neighborhood, let's say a kid goes missing. We're gonna know that, hey, you better be careful, kid, watch out, keep a close eye on your children. Somebody, a child just went missing in the area. We don't know if there's, kidnap around, whatever. At the missing, in the National Park Service, like in national parks and stuff, they don't have any regulations that you walk in and you're like, hey, on this trail, over the last 10 years, every other year, it seems in around June, a kid between the age of whatever seems to go missing.
They don't have to keep track of that
no
information?
disclosure, none. Like, you
Wow.
don't have to. And it's like so weird. He's put together the greatest collection of cases that have like common denominators that will just freak you out. Almost everybody
Wow.
I know that I get to read these books becomes obsessed with. People pretty much don't go into the Cascades. Even he agrees. And Yosemite, I've never been there, and now I'm afraid to go. Really?
Gee.
Have you ever been there?
I've not, no.
That's why you're still here.
That's why. I mean, I know people who've gone though.
Yeah, me
you
too.
can safely go to the parks.
Okay, but if you ever go with anybody and they all of a sudden one of your friends randomly, after you're all ready to go down the trail, okay?
Uh-huh.
So here's Chris and Zach and Lori and
Uh-huh.
Tom.
Mhm.
We're all just like walking down the path, and all of a sudden one of us just goes, hey, you know what? I'm going to go back to camp. I'm thirsty. Don't let me go.
That
That means
how
I'm
horror
being
movies
drawn
start.
away by some sort of mystical force. Just be like, tackle me down, go, you're not going anywhere.
No.
We're all going together to go get that
No.
drink of water. It's like seriously, don't let anybody go anywhere alone. That's like basically someone gets led away from a group, or it's like they're all together and somebody has like, oh, my legs hurt, or I got my feet wet, I'm going to go back to the camp, and they don't make it and they disappear. Why do adults die of exposure in 2 days?
What do you mean by die of exposure? What's that mean, die of exposure?
Okay.
Exposure
like
to
the elements, weather,
okay.
whatever. There's like an
yeah.
unknown cause. Why are these adults? Did you know there's a guy who just went missing? And Zach, since you're not doing anything in the coffee room, you could Google this too, since he found out about the states. There's a guy who went missing up in ice, up at what? Yeah, you are.
No,
I mean,
you've just been promoted to assistant producer.
Exactly.
Go get us some info.
Yeah, out at Ice House. You know where that is? That camping place. Zach, anybody know? Ever hear that? This guy just went missing. He's like 20 years old. It fits all the criteria in here. And what happens is suddenly then there's like no more information about it. And that's exactly what's happened. He was 20. He knew his way around. All this stuff. And then he just disappears.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's a lady who just disappeared up in Shasta. There's a little girl that went missing, and she didn't have shoes on. Like the kids, they always end up without their shoes on. There's just these weird things. And they, like, let's just say a kid goes missing. And let's say it was 5 o'clock in the evening.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so through the night, this kid seems to travel 10 miles uphill cliffs through rugged terrain. They're 2 years old and found like in the afternoon the next day, and they literally made it that far with no shoes on. They can't remember what happened. Sometimes they're alive, sometimes they're not. But how do they travel that far? Like, it's always unexplainable.
Bigfoot?
That's what I think he thinks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Huh.
There's one case that's super interesting in here. I wish I could just read them to you, but there's one case where it was Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the people's names, but let's just say it's Smiths.
Okay.
So the Smiths are on a trail, okay? And they come to a clearing, and the Smiths, the husband, wife, and their children decide to just kind of relax, chill out in this very desolate area.
Mhm.
It's not like a little park. There's no one else there. It's off a trail, okay? All of a sudden, this family shows up, which is kind of weird. They thought it was odd to begin with their children. They're like, hi, we're the Smiths. And we're wondering if we can, if our children can play with your children for a little while. They start playing hide and seek. And the first Smith's child, the father was watching where his youngest was hiding. He was like around 6 years old.
Mhm.
And he's watching. He sees where he hides. And they're like, okay, come out. They couldn't find him. And the kid doesn't come out. So the father goes right over where he saw his kid hide, and his kid's not there. Now, the father's athletic. He's able to, he starts looking all around. Okay, he's 6 years old. He's not going to seriously become missing that quick. Everybody was in like
Right.
a clearing. He starts going down the trail. He's yelling his name, doing all this stuff. The kid's missing. Okay, a couple miles away, there was this incident at the same time where somebody thought that they saw either an upright bear or something and heard a noise, like it sounded like a kid screaming on the shoulders or something like that, like it was being carried out. These people witnessed this, but it wasn't considered like evidence, but it was a sighting, and it was just like people who were in the park at that time, and it's something that was reported. Well, strangely enough, okay, so they obviously get a search party together, all that kind of stuff. Guess who shows up?
Bigfoot.
Green Beret.
Oh.
Green Beret does not show up except for national security.
Right.
They're not involved, like they don't like share any of the information with what they are finding out, why exactly they're there helping search for this child, supposedly.
Mhm.
They never share information. We never find out what they found out. Nothing. So then, I mean, is it a portal? What is it? I mean, it's just odd that they would actually show up. And what did you find out, Zach? Did you find anything out with your little Google? Obviously, Zach is not listening. What did you find out about the Ice House?
I think I found something that you were looking for on that subject. I linked it to your Facebook page.
Okay, cool.
So check that out.
All right. And so this guy that went missing up there, see, his criteria fit exactly. All of these missing, these are like out of national forests and everything else.
So, see, I grew up in the foothills up in the Nevada County area, and we would always tease each other on stuff like that, going camping up at like Bullard's Bar or something like that.
Really? Like what would you tease? Like who's going to go missing? Things like that?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because we were a bunch of teenage kids sitting around, basically, reading the gospel, not doing anything inappropriate, and just swimming and out of the water to properly nourish ourselves and not jumping back in the water after eating. Just doing what healthy young people do.
Oh, absolutely. I
Yes.
believe you
Yes.
wholeheartedly. Well, the thing that I find interesting is that somebody during the day would randomly just go for a walk in a national forest or a hike or do anything like that and then just die. They die of exposure, or they go missing and all that kind of stuff. And it's just, to me, it's just kind of odd that adults would just randomly go missing. I mean, adults are usually smart enough to get back on the trail.
What if
stay
they
on the
get
trail.
confused and they can't find their way back? Do you ever think about that, maybe?
True. Okay. But
Or if there was a Dateline or something that my ex-wife would watch, and this Dateline episode where a guy went on a business trip and never came back for like 15, 20 years or something. Like, he claimed it was a memory lapse for so many years, and he took off to like Mexico or something. Did not tell anyone. Then all of a sudden, randomly, out of the blue, he just calls his mother one morning 20 years later, and bringing somebody back from the dead apparently is a lot of resentful feelings and stuff like that.
Oh, I agree. But don't you think it's kind of weird, though? These are like cases that are not like that. I mean, like literally, it's a person that just ends up being missing. You know what I mean?
I hope you're not reading that before you go to bed just to, scare the living, patookus out of yourself to where you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't sleep now. I could go missing just walking to the bathroom, randomly getting abducted by, beings from another universe.
Okay, so the National Park System, I'm just going to read this little thing here. It says, this is by David Pilatus, okay? He writes, I've been very concerned about the attitude that the National Park Service expresses about missing people. There are no national database for each park identifying missing people. There are no list in each park. There are no list in each park identifying missing people, the circumstances, location, dates that they disappeared. This is very disturbing. How would a large park or regional district ever know if there was a serial killer utilizing the park as a location to abduct victims? Answer, they wouldn't. It's hard to imagine that a giant government law enforcement agency such as the National Park Service doesn't monitor and track these basic statistics. This is beyond unacceptable. It borders on complete stupidity unless this is a calculated maneuver. And so it's like, basically, he's just saying, like, he thinks that the park, the National Park Service somehow at a deeper level knows what's going on. Because, for instance, if you knew, okay, me and you were together at a park, and you saw me going, you know me, and I'm like, I'm going to go use that porta potty over there. And I'm going to come right back. You watch me walk over there, right? You watch me go in. You wait, you're fishing, doing something. You look, you see me never come back. You walk over there, and you're like, I saw her go in. She's gone. Would you really stop looking for me in 7 days, 5 days? Would you, if there was no one else around, wouldn't you be able to find me?
You'd think so.
I'm an adult.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go missing.
Right.
I'm not doing anything. There was no other people around. Okay. And then all of a sudden maybe I'm found 10 days later. Okay, so you get a search party. You're like, she can't be far. She wouldn't go hiking around and be lost. So you're like this. You're like, you have this search party. All of a sudden, you guys have searched. I mean, like, just comb the area, right? Maybe 10 days later, I'm found in an area that was thoroughly searched, dead, laying in a creek. And I died of exposure. Why would that happen?
Something weird.
Right.
Something weird. Hey, what if there's a crazy kind of special, like, what if underneath there's some special, like, government facility?
Do you want to know something
where they're
crazy?
testing crazy technology and stuff like that.
Do you want to know something super crazy? Is some of the people live, and they cannot recall being gone for how long they were gone.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what's happened to them. They're in shock. They can't talk about, for some reason they can't remember, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
One little kid said he was sleeping with bears.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And another kid made a comment like, I didn't eat the berries. And there's always granite.
I didn't eat the berries?
Yeah. A lot of berry pickers, this is weird. Boysenberry is a really bad one, but a lot of berry pickers go missing. Like a mom and her kids were all picking berries. We're just at this blackberry bush, right? And then all of a sudden one kid is like, hey, where's Joey? Joey is not here. He can't be too far. We're just picking berries.
Right.
And he's gone forever.
Huh.
Or he's found in the middle of a swamp and he's not wet. He doesn't have his shoes on. And he can't remember how he got there, but yet he doesn't know how to swim, and he's there. These cases in here, no wonder I have nightmares. I do. I'm not joking. I seriously am afraid of this book.
Well, you got to finish it, you know.
We have to go to a break.
Okay.
Stay tuned for the dirt. I have to choke.
You are tuned to the dirt.
It's happy hour right now at Java Detour with gourmet coffee at fast food prices, featuring delish drinks like the ice blended caramel white mocha that has tons of caramel drizzle and topped with a mountain of whipped cream, or the black and white mocha that comes hot, iced, or blended. It has the perfect combination of dark and white chocolate. Oh, so good, and just the pick-me-up you need. Java Detour happy hour 5 to 7 p.m. Gourmet coffee at fast food prices. See you in a few.
Easy in and out. Highway 20 in Yuba City, 10th Street in Marysville, and 3rd Street in Marysville.
We rock!
Well, Bob, you are irresistible.
Oh, pure and simple.
Naturally the best.
We're Mount Shasta Spring Water.
29 degrees. That's right, you heard me. 29 degrees inside the Beer Cave in Yuba City 76. It may be nearing 100 degrees where you are, but in the Beer Cave at Yuba City 76, it's a chilly 29 degrees. That's where you'll find the coldest beer in town. And they're keeping the prices really low, too. Only $12.99 for Bud, Bud Light, Coors Light, and Tecate 12-packs. And only $19.99 for 30 packs of the same. So stop by on your way home and get the coldest beer in town. Yuba City 76, next to U-Haul on Calusa Avenue in Yuba City.
My family and I were driving our one-day-old son home from the hospital when we...
30 seconds.
No spare in our car and nothing but rice fields in sight. We called Les Schwab. When Joe saw us on the side of the road with 2 babies, he insisted he drive me and the kids home.
Let's get you home safe.
While my husband waited for the tow truck. In no time, Joe's crew had our tire repaired and wouldn't even accept a tip for a ride home, saying it was
baby's first gift.
I guess they would, and that's my Les Schwab story.
Les Schwab, doing the right thing since 1952.
You are tuned to the dirt.
Hi, everybody. You're listening to The Dirt. Okay, so I just was having a choke attack over here.
But you're better now.
I am better now.
Good.
Okay, so I'm talking about David Pilatus. He's the author of the books Missing 411. And this is the Western United States and Canada book. And it's just like a collection of like individual cases of missing people that he puts together that have like common denominators that, and they're all in national parks and places like that that just fit a certain criteria. Okay. And he is the author of like Bigfoot books and Bigfoot searches. And he actually spent time with an Indian tribe for a couple years. And, so it's very, very interesting. There's a case in here that I do want to like read to give you guys a little bit. And I know he's not on my show right now, but I'm gonna have him on my show, that's for sure. And I can't wait. He's been on Coast to Coast and so many shows and different seminars and everything else, just trying to raise awareness on how dangerous it actually can be in the national parks. And so I know we have a caller right now, so I'm just like kind of staying tuned in before I start reading this. So let me see here. Mark. Okay, so we've got Mark on the air with us. Mark, you have a question or comment?
Is this Lori?
Yeah.
Lori, this is Mark Bales.
Oh, hi.
From
How are you
California.
doing, Mark? Thank you for calling into the dirt.
Yes, and I just saw this pop up on Facebook, and I just, oh, you're doing a radio show tonight. Is Paul there with you tonight?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wondered, because I know you and he are friends, and I just.
Oh yeah, he's not here.
No, it just popped up. If you got other people that are waiting in line.
Oh no. If you have a comment, please comment. I'm glad that you called in.
Okay. No, I just I have I've had several paranormal experiences. That's why I do ghost hunting and things like that. So, anyway, I saw that. I just thought, well, why not give you a call?
Okay, well, great. Did you want to share anything with the listeners about any of, like, maybe your favorite paranormal experience?
My favorite one was actually when my grandfather died, and I saw his image. I was staying at my grandparents' house because I was helping my grandmother rearrange things. This was between the 5th and the 6th grade, and I saw his image on the ceiling of my grandparents slept in separate bedrooms. I don't know why. I guess they didn't have Viagra in those days, but and my grandmother had placed a blanket and an Afghan over the back of a chair, rocking chair, and sitting in front of a nightlight, and it cast a perfect shadow of my grandfather.
Wow.
That's kind of a long story, but another time I woke up one time and I felt like there was two spirits in my room. And I said out loud, if there's someone here who's trying to communicate with me, would you please give me a sign, give me a tap on the shoulder or something like that? And I felt tap on the shoulder.
Wow. And how old were you when that happened?
Oh, let's see. I was just out of high school. I was like 18. I mean, I have a whole host of stories. Which one sounds more interesting to you?
Well, I mean, any of them. Whatever one is more interesting to you is the one I would like you to share.
One was the one that touched my heart the most because I felt my grandfather was in the room with me that night watching over me.
Aww.
My grandfather and I were very close, and he died because of a botched surgery.
Oh my
I was
goodness.
only 11.
Yeah, I know a lot of times people do sense that their loved ones are just really close right on the other side, and that they do let themselves be known, in order to show comfort or whatever, that they're still near us. And I think those are just such loving experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you decided to call into the dirt. Well, I'll have to have you as a guest sometime. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, did you have anything else you'd like to say to the listeners on the dirt?
Oh, that's it, really.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Mark.
Sure.
All right. Well, have a great night, and thanks a lot for tuning into the dirt.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that was nice that you called in. Thank you very much. And if anybody else would like to call in and share a story or an experience, the number is 530-742-5555. So basically, right here, the collection of these stories, I'm just going to read just like a little comment, okay, since we have a little time here. And this is just a little example of what you'll find in this book. This says Stacy Ann, Eris, I think it is, missing in 1981, 3 miles southeast of Tenaya Lake, Yosemite National Park. Age of disappearance was 14. If there's one story in this section that caused me to stop and take notice of the dangers in Yosemite, it's the disappearance of Stacy. Stacy was 14 years old when she and her dad joined a group of 10 people and their guide for a trip to the High Sierra camps on horseback. The group had stayed together, stopped for lunch on an upper Cathedral Lake, and then headed for their first night stop at the Sunrise High Sierra camp. It's approximately 3 miles southeast of Tenaya Lake and 1.5 miles from Sunrise Lakes. The trip parallels Highway 120 approximately 1 mile southeast. Stacy had some aches and pains from riding all day long and quickly went to the old cabin she shared with her dad, showered, and then wanted to take a short hike to stretch her legs. She started to leave her cabin in sandals when her dad stated that if she was planning on hiking, that she needed to put her hiking boots on and, to go on the trail. So she did. At an elevation of 9,200 feet, it would have been a slow hike with a vast amount of exposed granite. The lack of trees made this a spectacular arena for sightseeing. Gerald Stewart, 70 years old, was also on the ride and volunteered to join Stacy on her hike. Stacy and Gerald started up the short 1.5-mile hike to Sunrise Lakes. The hike was across the giant slabs of granite with small clusters of trees that surround many of the hundreds of small lakes in the area. After only a few minutes, Gerald got tired and explained to Stacy that he was going to go sit and rest. It was at this time that the trail guide for Gerald and Stacy's trip, Chris Grimes, happened to look 50 yards up the hill from his position in the corral and caught the last glimpse anyone on earth would ever see of Stacy. Stacy stood on a large boulder, stared into the distance, and walked into the sunset. And it says on page 467 of the Butch Farabee's book, Off the Wall, he states that the 9-day search for Stacy included 8,004 man-hours, 57 hours of helicopter time, 4 separate agencies, not one clue about what happened to Stacy. The search cost the National Park Service $99,000 in 1981. The potential value of the National Park Service tracking missing people cases may become more evident with the disappearance of Stacy. And it says maybe the National Park Service didn't want this publicized, or maybe they don't realize the following relationships exist between Stacy's disappearance and the disappearances of others in the same area. And he requested the National Park Service case file on Stacy, and this request was identical to many others that he had in the system for people who have disappeared and never were found. One of the many cases I requested and received was the disappearance and subsequent investigation of missing employee Ranger. Up until point 1 requested, he had never been denied for any cases until this case. So basically, she goes missing. There's no reason for it. They have like $99,000 spent on trying to find her, and she's never found. And she's walking on a 1.5-mile trail, and that's it. Just gone. She's old enough to know how to stand a trail, how to come back. There's no evidence of her anywhere. I mean, I just think these cases are crazy and they're scary. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, these people, like, that's what I was saying about, like, if you saw me go into the bathroom and you would be like, she's here. She would not go far. If a 14-year-old, 15-year-old, 16-year-old, whatever, if they suddenly feel like they're lost and somebody starts yelling for them, you're not going to go traveling 15 miles. You're not.
No, it takes a long time to go that far in the forest.
It does.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna just keep wandering aimlessly. You're gonna probably stay put, or maybe backtrack. Or if you don't know where you're back, she was on a trail.
Right.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's why these books are so intriguing. And he's like literally putting together so much information. And he already has that case that I was telling you guys about on Ice House. It's posted on his website as a possibility to be in these books and everything like that. So, I mean, it's pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, do you do much hiking or anything like that?
No, I did it a couple years ago. I spent a lot of time out in the woods, yeah.
Yeah.
Did a lot of hiking. And you know what? you can get lost in the woods pretty easy.
I think you can too.
Pretty quick, because it happened to me.
Really?
Yeah, and it's a scary experience when you get lost, because you kind of, you can be following a trail, and you keep following the trail, and and then you kind of get to the end of the trail without realizing it, where it kind of, you take a turn off the trail that is not very well well worn, and you end up at the end of the trail without realizing it. And then you turn around and there's no trail, and then you turn around in a few circles, and then you're done.
Yeah. And so how did you get found or whatever? Did you
I happened to see, from where I was, there was one really tall tree that I recognized kind of by itself, and I could barely make that out, and I just hoped that was the tree that I was thinking it was, and I just barreled straight through the woods at it. But I'm telling you, it was one of the most frightening experiences of my life, to be lost in the woods.
And
it
how
really
long
was.
would you say you were lost?
I would say I was lost for about 20 minutes before I realized I was lost, and then fear and panic sunk in very fast.
Okay, so at that point, now I'm kind of intrigued by the fact that you were lost.
Okay.
So you're thinking on this.
If I hadn't seen that tree that I recognized, I would have had no idea which direction to go. None at all.
So you went to looked where the sun was setting or whatever. Was that night or
I didn't
day?
know where I was in relation to where I had started, because I was just following a trail through the woods.
Okay, so let me tell you
Where
this.
I'd gone.
What would have, if you got to a river, would you have started to just walk on a river? What is something that you would have maybe done? Would you have started to feel scared of wildlife?
Where I was, I knew that if I went in either direction, I would, eventually run into a road. I knew that I was in a forest that was surrounded by at least, dirt roads.
Okay.
So if I had gotten out of it, I would have known where I was. But it could have taken me a day or two to get to a road from where I was. I just knew that in any direction I would hit something.
Was there anything in your mind when you first felt like you were lost that you would wish that you had on you? Gun? Is there anything that you were like, oh my gosh, I wish I had?
No, I had a gun. I had a shotgun with me.
Okay.
I did have a gun.
And did that give you a sense of security?
If I didn't have that thing, I would have been scared out of my mind, for sure. Because who knows if I'm going towards bears and mountain lions and things like that, who knows?
Right.
I would never go out in the wild woods without a gun.
Do you think in your mind that you felt like they would find you?
I felt like there was a chance that I could not be found. I did. That was definitely there pretty strong, that, oh my God, I could die out here in these woods.
See, that's so scary to me.
And I consider myself a fairly strong-willed individual, and that was one of the most scary. That was one of the most scared I've ever been.
The case I just read to you is just lame. I could barely read it good. I mean, there was some other ones that were just better. I don't know. I just feel like that's interesting that you got lost, because maybe
once that happened to me, I realized just how easy it is to get lost when you think you know where you are.
Okay, and so would you say you would have instinctively just walked really fast and just kept going and going and going and going?
Yes.
Or would you have?
I would have picked a direction and just gone. I would have picked the direction I thought I had come from.
So maybe that's why people do travel so far. They're just scared and moving, and they're
I'm telling you, when you get an adrenaline rush, and before then I kind of always stayed on trails, and I didn't kind of go through the wood, because the woods get thick, and it's hard to get through sometimes when they're so thick, and there's all kinds of spiders and stuff that you worry about, but when I was in that mode, I did not care.
Right.
I just wanted out, and I picked a direction, and I just plowed right through the woods. I didn't care what was in front of me. I just went hard and fast.
It's so weird.
So if you get turned around in the woods, it's scary, and you don't know what you're doing.
Oh my gosh.
And you're just hoping that you're doing the right thing and going the right way.
Okay. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try to attempt to read one more. People are going to kill me for this. Okay. If there's only one case in this book that strikes the reader as odd, this is it. Okay, so Teresa, I'm not going to go through with all the big words, like their names and stuff. So Teresa inspire. Oh no, I didn't like this one because I felt like the guy could have just killed her. There was this one right here was actually a neighbor and this guy. Okay, I'll tell you this. There was this girl who lived in California, and basically the neighbor guy, decided to take her camping to look for Bigfoot.
Okay.
And he claims that she got hauled off by a herd of Bigfoot.
A herd of
A herd.
Bigfoot.
It was literally a herd.
Huh.
And I think this is one where he like took some sort of polygraph or something, and maybe not. It was something where he never got prosecuted for anything.
Oh.
So I thought that was kind of weird. But anyway, so these books, like as you can see on here, like here's the case. Here's another case. They're not long, but look at all.
Each case is not long, but the book is thick.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of cases in there.
And this is literally just like Western. Then there's like Southern, then there's the Eastern, and then he even said that like Florida has enough for their own book. And even I think it might be Arizona or Texas, something like that. Like there's some places that are seriously have so many missing people that he doesn't like group a whole bunch of states together. Like they could each in their own state.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Florida's one, huh?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of weirdness in Florida. There really is.
Well, like those zombies.
Zombies.
Well, remember when? That like.
The bath salts guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, ate the other guy's face off.
Or the mother with the child.
Like we just talked about. Yeah.
There's a lot of weird stuff out there.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a lot of investigating to do, Chris. Tons. And I wish I really would have picked out like a really good story out of here to read for you guys. But what I'll do is maybe I'll narrow it down. I'll figure out some easy reader ones in here where it's short, sweet, and well, they're all short and sweet. But some of them are just, unless you've been reading it, it's hard to appreciate the common denominators.
Right, they all kind of fit together after you've read a few of them, and it
Yeah.
just keeps adding to
And
the
then
mix,
just like
yeah.
when I just read one randomly, I'm like, well, it's not really giving the information that like I picked up on. You know, you have to be like into this a little more. You have to at least read like probably like 10 of them
To
and
see the patterns.
Yeah.
Right.
It's exactly like that.
Yeah.
You just always fill in the blanks with my words. I'm all the patterns. Yes. You know, we would have been good at that $10,000 pyramid thing. Or
We would have
whatever.
won it all.
I know.
We would have won it all. We would have gotten to the $100,000 pyramid.
Is that what it
and
really
we would have taken
was?
that one home. I think there was a $25,000, and then they bumped it up to the $100,000 pyramid.
Oh my gosh.
We
that
would have
would be-
owned it.
I know. That's
We
for
would have
sure.
owned it.
That's for sure. Because the second I go, and
By the way, I love that show. I love old game shows.
me
It's
too.
my favorite.
What about that one that no whammies?
No whammy, big money, no whammy, no whammy. Stop.
Okay, so me and Jeff were looking up that one guy that was the one who basically ruined the show because remember he mastered the no whammies.
That guy was awesome.
Yes, and he got all the way up to like 100,000 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
and
he-
people were like,
yeah.
"What is happening?" Yeah, and he was just like, "Oh my
Yep,
gosh!" Like
yep.
he was just like this, and he had studied it, and he just studied like the patterns, and he realized there was like what 10 of them or whatever, and
Yeah.
he could just do it, and he'd be like, "Bam."
Pop. Stop.
He-
Stop.
Yeah,
He
that's what he would do. He'd go, "Stop!"
Yeah.
That's what he did, and he looks crazy.
Yep.
You guys Google that.
Yeah, YouTube it. It's great.
It
great. That
is,
guy's the
and
best.
just the way he does it, he's like, "Stop!" Like he screams it, and you know he knows.
Yep.
Well, and everybody like was kind of butthurt about that guy. I say he didn't cheat. How is that cheating?
No, he practiced. Practicing is not cheating.
That's like somebody who's like good at math.
folks at
I'm
the game
sorry,
show-
you were in a math class.
If the folks at
You
the game
cannot
show
go.
cannot figure out how to make a random thing where they're going to give out $100,000 maybe, then that's their own fault.
Exactly.
He practiced and he won. He's
Yeah.
a winner.
Or maybe put a cap. Put a cap on it.
I guess, you could do that if you wanted to. Hey, we don't want to give you all this money, so
You
Stop
can
it.
win up to
Commercial break.
$10,000. Like they could
Sure.
make it like whatever,
Sure.
but instead they were all in shock. They're all right, let's go again. This guy's ready to go. I mean, and then I think that whole thing went under, didn't it?
It's not even around anymore. It must have been the end of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stop.
Couldn't you just come up with a new order of the guys?
I think that they were like pretty much bankrupt at that point.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah, I
this
think the
dude-
insurance company pulled out.
yeah, I think so. They're like, you're on your own. You
That's
should've-
enough of that, buddy.
But maybe it went on for a little bit, but they said that basically that was like, that's when the show just lost their profits.
Big money, big
He-
money.
he gained
no
it.
whammy, stop.
Yeah, exactly. So is Zach having anything special on his show today? The Zach and Brian show? Here he comes.
Well.
The man on a mission. Come on, Zach. Tell us what your show's about today.
Actually, tonight, Brian, who's actually sick, I was going to have a special guest who's normally on the show, Mr. Wright, calling in from Florida. We were actually going to not talk about sports this week. We were actually going to talk about different cooking recipes in the third world. So maybe randomly something like that. Just
For
to
real?
see how small of an audience I can grow.
Well, that's cool that you're gonna like branch out.
Yeah,
maybe you should talk about
maybe,
relationships.
Check out some dishes of, what are they cooking in Argentina right now? And talk about that for a whole hour,
Or you should talk about places that eat bugs.
Exactly.
I think it would be great. Well, good luck on your show tonight.
Oh, yeah.
I hope it goes great. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into The Dirt. Thank you, Chris Singleton, and thank you, Sharon Roberts, for being on The Dirt. You guys stay tuned for next week, and we will be back.